Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and well, today we've got a treasure we're working on. It's a Newell G332-F fishing reel. This was caught by Arturo in California. Yeah, you heard that right, it got caught. This one was dragged up at low tide, and Arturo brought the reel in and it wasn't working. He had asked me if I could get it back to working condition. I did. But I also mentioned to him that, well, the reel is being used in salt water. The bearings, well, they're pretty rough. And one of the best things that he could do in terms of improving the performance of this reel would be to install the hybrid ceramic bearings to kind of complete his resurrection project. Credit to Carl Newell and his design. I don't know how long this sat under there, but I cleaned out a lot of muck and mud. So I'm going to say it wasn't something that was just dropped the day before, if you will. So a lot of tides and a lot of corrosion activity and the like. Well, that's all been cleaned up, and as you can see, it works nicely now. But the bearings are noisy, and if there's one downfall to the Newell reels, it's those steel bearings that were put into those reels. Well, they were around before hybrids were, and over time, the salt water would get to them. They would corrode, and well, they just became noisy kind of coffee grinders, but nonetheless beautiful reels. Well, as I mentioned, I had serviced this one. I talked to Arturo and I asked him, would you be interested in having these upgraded to the ceramic bearings? Given that the reel didn't cost you very much, it might be a good thing to do. And he said, sure, go ahead and do that. So that's what we're going to do today. In the process, you're going to learn how to service this reel, because I basically have to take the reel apart to get to those bearings. So we'll show you how to do that, how to service the reel. And well, if you like these kinds of videos, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. The channel features all kinds of reels and all kinds of service projects, whether they're a saltwater reel like this one, that's a classic, or a modern day reel that, well, just came off the shelves and, well, it's in for an annual service. Whether it's a spinning reel, a bait casting reel, a closed-faced reel, or the traditional conventional saltwater reels. I cover them all, and that's kind of the purpose of the channel, to show you how to service these, how to keep them fishing, and how to do it yourself. Well, you saw we just took off the handle nut cap. Underneath that there is a E-clip that holds the bridge sleeve to the post, and well, you need to take all of these pieces off in order to get inside the reel. When I take the pieces and parts off, they go into a parts tray. I use a fast food container for that. I encourage you to have a parts strategy before you start. Well, take pictures as well. There's a lot of things that older reels have, and one of them is a lack of some support from time to time. Newell made his reels from the 1970s through the 1990s, and well, that was the days before the internet and all the wealth of information you can get on it. And sometimes finding schematics and that are difficult. So take your pictures. We have a little water seal here. We have a metal washer that goes on top of the handle. We have a metal washer that goes underneath the handle. We have a bell washer that goes under the handle. And then we have your star adjuster. So the reels were known for their quality components and their resistance to corrosion. Guess which is the one piece that wasn't resistant to corrosion? It was those ball bearings. So I always recommend, if you're fishing in a saltwater environment and it's time for a bearing upgrade, to go ahead and put those ceramic bearings in there. Ceramic bearings don't rust, and they have very close tolerances. The best ones you can get for fishing reels are actually rated. The rating system is called ABEC, and that ABEC rating system, well, it goes from 1 to 9, but the highest you really want to get for a fishing reel is the 7 rating, and that's what we're going to install today. The bearings come from Boca bearing. They're a widespread, recognized source for them. They are reliable, and they've been in business for a very long time. I believe it's over 30 years now that they've been in business. If you're looking for a reliable supplier that's going to sell you what they say it is, then Go to Boca Bearings to get those. You'll find a link for that in the description below. Here's one of the bearings. Here's the other. You could simply just pull these bearing containers out. They do hold, but I'm going to show you the full service of the reel in addition to the exchange of the bearings. We're going to pull this plate off first. Here's your spool, and interestingly enough, one of the bearings just came right off with that spool. Now, we've got the bearing off of the spool, and this is a good time to show you how to measure this. Now, this is a stainless steel ball bearing. What we're going to replace these with are the ceramic bearings from Boca. And the ceramic bearings, well, you're used to seeing those come in the orange rubber seals, but they also come in a stainless steel shield that's removable if that's your interest. And sometimes that's the only ones you're going to find available. And here's why. This is not a metric bearing. So let's go measure this. We'll zero this out. I'll change this to inches. And if you find that you have a bearing that's just not measuring quite right on the millimeters, check over on the inches side. It may be that it's a US SAE measure, and this one is. So the internal diameter is 1.25. The external diameter is 3.75. And the height is 1.5. So if you're having an issue, if you don't see something clean like 3, 4, 10, check it over to the inch measures. Sometimes you will find that that is the answer. Well, that's what Boca supplied us with. Stainless steel shielded ABEX 7 ceramic bearings inside as the replacements for this set. And that should make all the difference in the world here in terms of that noise that we were hearing early on. Now, just like your rubber shielded ones, to get the best performance out of these, they run dry. You don't need to oil them, but if you do oil them, it will quiet the noise. It will also introduce a little bit of friction. That little bit of friction will reduce the speed of the spool and as a result, casting distance. Well, that's all it takes to replace that side bearing on the non-gear side. And if we haven't mentioned it before, the reason to use Boca bearings is that they are a reliable supplier that's been in business for a long time. And well, when you order the bearings from them, if it says ABEX 7, it's going to be ABEX 7. You know, the internet sellers are wonderful folks, and you get discounts and bargains on there, but you're never quite sure what you can get, who they are, or what their reputation is. And sometimes they may claim to be an ABEX 7, but, well, you just don't know if it's that or a 5 or a 3 or what it is, a mixture of them. A lot of the folks that sell on the internet are buying manufacturer surplus. You never have a way to test what those components are. And, well, you're at their mercy in terms of what you're purchasing. So buyer beware if you wind up in that situation. Okay. Well, we've got the second bearing. We're going to show you how to get to that now. Again, you could have pulled this off and just taken the bearing out from that, but we're going to show you the service on this reel as well. So we're going to remove the 4 bridge screws, and while the bearing just, well, it's out by itself. Saved us the trouble. The gear stack, you can see it's been serviced. The gear stack is very easy to service now. We've removed the E-clip. This whole section will just come right up and out. Just like that. You can remove all of the components and service the discs inside. We have the pinion gear here, and you can see the structure on the anti-reverse dog. Now, one of the things you need to know on that anti-reverse dog is that you're going to have to hold it up when you go to reinstall. So we'll just put this back on. And then what I like to do is grab a little thin screwdriver and push the anti-reverse dog back into its track as you slide down on that. And then test to make sure that that's working fine. All right, that's the solution on the one side. We've got the bearing out on the other. Simply replace. These just push in. There are no retaining clips or other devices here. It's straightforward. And then what I like about the Newell Reel and the Newell design is that it's all in one. There's no springs that you have to set or protocol that you need to follow. You simply just turn this in and seat it. That's because your anti-reverse dog is anchored to your bridge for support, and it doesn't have the springs independent of that like so many reels of this generation had. Carl Newell was really quite the innovator in terms of the design, the materials that he used, and well, it just shows in the quality of the reel and how they've endured and how they've gained the reputation that's so deserved. All right, we're going to put the bridge screws back in now. We've replaced the two bearings. That's all there are in this reel. I just can't wait to give it a test, see how it does. Again, you can put a drop of oil on these. You don't need to hose them down with oil if you do choose to do that. They will seep in. It's not a sealed bearing. It has the shields on them, and as such, it will allow oil to come in. All right, simply put it in. Bring this side on. Same thing here. Sometimes it's easier if you put the reel in neutral, so to speak. There we go. Tight with that. If you weren't paying attention, there are two long screws that go below and one short screw that goes above. There's an anchor point in here on the above. You couldn't put a long screw in there, or it would go through the case. What the long screws do on the side is they're attaching to the crossbars and anchoring those down. So I'm going to do the two on the side first, and then we'll come up and do the top one. And if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, if you leave them in the comments section, I will try to answer those for you and get you on your way. Okay, leaving it in neutral, you can turn it, make sure that it turns. We'll give it a free spool spin in a minute. Just go back, make sure all of your pieces are tightened. Or your screws, they're tight. Just checking. Every now and then you'll use one to set a screw or something and leave it light. Okay, let's put the handle back on. That assembly. So all we have is the small washer, and there's a bowed side to your star adjuster. Find that bowed side. It's this side. That goes down. Hand tighten it, make sure it goes nice and easy, just like that. And we had our bell washer went on. And then we had the top and bottom side of your handle washer. So one goes below. Handle goes on. Top side washer goes on. Your water seal goes on. Now we're back to the E-clip. Be careful with these, they tend to shoot. That goes onto your post. Just like that. And the cap. So what did we do? We showed you how to take the reel apart, how to get to those bearings, explained why the hybrid bearings is a good choice here, because they won't rust or corrode in a saltwater environment, which is where this reel typically goes fishing. We showed you a little bit about the makeup of the reel. We took the bridge out, explained how it's a one-piece bridge so that you don't need to worry about the springs flying and the like. The design and manufacturer was a good idea all around. Right now I need to get this handle nut started in square. It wasn't going in square. If it doesn't go in square, please stop immediately and reset just like I did there. Make sure that it is firm. And now we got to tighten down. Tighten down your drag. You can test the drag and everything while you're here. What a difference. Wow, what a difference. All right, this is what I'm always impressed with the hybrid bearings with the Newell Reel design. This thing should fly. Let's go put it into free spool. What can I say? And that's actually pretty quiet compared to the way we started. But imagine casting that. That thing will just throw it a very, very long way. Of course, we have adjusters on both sides. If you find that it's a little sluggish and you want it to spin more, back these off. If you find that it's spinning too fast, tighten these down. They're just a simple wide blade screwdriver and the adjusters on both sides to make that adjustment possible. Well, we've done an awful lot here. We've taken a reel that was dragged up at low tide in California by Arturo. We did a cleanup, which was not part of the video here, but we did show you the results of it and how it looked clean inside after it came in very murky and full of sludge and full of sediment that was there from the time it spent underwater. Showed you that the damage that was done was the steel bearings on both sides, but that's typical of a Newell reel that's 30 years old, regardless of whether it spent any time living beneath the sea. The steel bearings do over time corrode, they rust, they grow out of conformity, and they get very noisy, and that's kind of a reputation that Newell has. Well, how do you fix all of that? Simply get the hybrid bearings, and as we mentioned, we got ours from Boca bearings, and well, the hybrid bearings will fix that problem right away. Wow, what a beautiful reel. Arturo, what a lucky catch. All right, we're going to get this one back out there fishing again. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I truly appreciate your career choice, dedication to task, and public safety. I want to thank you, the viewers, for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the service of the Newell G332-F. It's a beautiful reel. If you happen to have an opportunity to get one, go ahead and do that. It's a reel you'll enjoy fishing with. And if you have that noisy coffee grinder bearing noise that is normally accompanying these reels, go switch them over to the ceramic bearings. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.